All right. Well, hello and welcome to On the Porch with Dr. Jacqui. And I'm so glad that you are joining in and go on and share and like and let someone know that this is one that you don't want to miss. Our theme is wilderness transition and the silent grief of leaders. Wilderness transition and the silent grief of leaders. Okay, so I want to just say welcome on the porch. And this is On the Porch with Dr. Jacqui. And this is sponsored by Lovelle Coaching and Consulting Group. And so glad you're here. So go on and get whatever it is that you need to just relax, be on the porch with us as we talk about people connecting and being across transformational thresholds. Yeah, that's what it's all about. So why on the porch? Well, you see, on the porch is where we actually begin and start and becomes a place of conversation and community. You know, real conversations and where wisdom is shared and community is created. On the porch, we cross those thresholds together through collective wisdom and through sharing and connecting. So I'm your host, Dr. Jacqueline White Maxwell, affectionately known as Dr. Jacqui. But I'm a transformational coach, advanced grief recovery specialist, a faith-based health entrepreneur, and my mission is to create spaces of healing, spaces of truth, spaces of compassion, but also spaces of transformation. You know, it's an inside job from the inside out. So we're going to move even tonight, having this conversation. And we got a special guest. I need to say that. But even as we move through this conversation, it's going to be opportunities that you can see. You can move from a space of brokenness to wholeness and walk boldly in your God-given position. Walk boldly in your God-given purpose. Okay, so I'm excited. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm excited. I know, go on and tag someone. Let them know that today I am honored to welcome a powerful voice in ministry, a man of God, a leader, Dr. André Austin. So he comes a seasoned pastor, a seasoned leader, a consultant, an author who has dedicated more than 2 decades to guiding churches and communities through transformation. He serves as senior pastor of the historic Loyal Baptist Church in Danville, Virginia. He's blending faith, strategy, and service to help leaders and congregations thrive. Now, Dr. Austin, he holds a master's degree from Duke University, a doctorate in transformational leadership from Boston University School of Theology, and an executive certificate in religious fundraising. He's also the founder of a marketing and publishing firm that equips faith-based leaders to amplify their message and amplify their mission. He is an accomplished author. You know, Dr. Austin, he's written When the Sanctuary Burned, Forgiveness, Practical Leadership, Silent Struggles, Sacred Rest, The Pews Have a Purpose. And each book reflects his deep commitment of helping leaders and congregations find their clarity, find their courage, their purpose, and to walk in the Great Commission. Beyond the pulpit, he serves in leadership roles with the Smith River Baptist Association of the Virginia Baptist State Convention. And he's a devoted husband and a proud father. So at this time, I am excited and honored to welcome Dr. André Austin to the porch. Hello, Dr. Austin.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so glad to have
Hello. Thank you,
you.
Dr.
Yes.
Jacqui. I was sitting there listening to you introduce me, and I was trying to figure out who you was talking about. But it's an on this podcast with you, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for accepting the invitation. I've heard I've heard you minister, preach, teach. I've had the opportunity to read from your penmanship, and I am honored to have you on tonight. So thank you for accepting the invitation. But I want us to get busy. Let's get busy, because something that I've heard you talk about is that there are times in which the wilderness becomes a season that people often get stuck in but don't know how to navigate through. And I know that that's something you've discussed, that you're passionate about, and you've even have written about. And so we want to hear from you, because we've already said that the porch is a place of connection and community. And what better space to really talk about times when we get stuck, times when it feels overwhelming.
Yep. The network went out a little bit, but what I heard you ask, Dr. Jacqui, was talking about that wilderness experience and through that wilderness experience in life. And one of the things I discovered, and you talked about the book When the Sanctuary Burned. One of the things I discovered after the sanctuary had burned, and I realized I was in a wilderness moment. That wilderness moment, it was an experience of loneliness. It was an experience of anxiety. I went through a phase where I didn't think I should be there. Like I shouldn't be in this situation. And I think sometimes in life we will find ourselves in wilderness experiences, and everyone's experience may be a different experience, but it's something that we must trust God through when we're going through the wilderness. And I oftentimes say it's very interesting that when Jesus, immediately after he's baptized, the Bible says he is led by the Spirit into the wilderness. And he's there for 40 days and for 40 nights. I've heard, I was talking to someone today about some of the older saints in the older church as we know it. And I oftentimes will hear people say that the reason you're going through something or the reason you're having difficult times is because you've done something wrong. And I realized in life that that's not always the case, that Jesus did everything right. He was led into the wilderness for 40 days and for 40 nights. So try not to look at the wilderness experience as because of something you've done wrong in your life, but just look at it as an opportunity for you to trust God through those wilderness experiences. And I can tell you from experience, every wilderness experience I went through, I've learned something different about God. God changes, but I learned how to see God from a different perspective, how much God may love me in ways I didn't think I could be loved, how God would care for me. So when we're navigating through those wilderness experiences, one, it's not necessarily anything we've done wrong, and two, it's an opportunity for us to build a close relationship with God.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you were talking about that, it's almost like it's a in between seasons. Like when we think about when we move from summer to fall, well, it might say that on the calendar, but we still might have some bumpy times, some rough times. You might still need to turn on the air. It might not
Yeah,
always fit or look the way we think it should, but we know we're in between seasons. Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I
Mm-hmm.
talk about that in the book When the Sanctuary Burned, that when I was at my lowest moment, it seemed like God would give me a small victory to celebrate. They would give me a sense of hope, a sense of connection, a sense of, everything is going to be all right. Even like you said, um, yeah, we're still moving, but it doesn't seem like we've moved further than I would like for us to be. But every now and then, God will give me small victories to say, you know what, God still is here. We are moving in the right direction. and just gives you a different perspective to see God through.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That is so good. That is so good. And move it as long as we continue to move, but knowing that
Yeah.
God does his best work as we're moving from that, what we thought was a great time, into something that
Yeah.
might seem a little overwhelming and full of the desert and bushes and all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
That's when he does
Yeah.
his great work, his greatest work. Yeah, absolutely. That's good. That's good. So, I realize for some, that wilderness time is very private, because we're really talking about our churches, our communities, and even in our homes. There are people right now who are having that experience. And then, you're talking about from a ministry perspective and as a leader. And I want us to kind of shift a little bit. When we talk about leaders, I'm aware that there are many leaders, even pastors, who
Yeah.
are in a space of, so what do I do now?
Yeah. It's interesting you say that my research has found, when I was working on my doctorate, that it's something I knew, but I didn't know to what degree or to what magnitude that it played out. And that is, unfortunately, in the African American community, particularly when it comes to mental health, when it comes to us going through difficult times in life, we've been taught, our culture has taught us not to talk about it. Don't tell anybody. You need to pray more. It's something you're not doing right with God. And the reality of it is, I believe that God has designed all of us, that when we're going through moments, that we must have somebody we can talk to, that we must release and be able to share our feelings, our thoughts of difficult seasons that we're going through. But it's sad, because we are living in a time, in our culture, we are taught not to tell anybody, which then we rely on ourselves. We rely on ourselves, no one to talk to. So it's very important that while we're navigating, that we do have someone we can trust, that we can talk to, other than God. I tell people, I say it all the time. Yeah, you need somebody to talk to, but you still need to pray.
Mm-hmm.
You need to pray while you go get your checkup at the doctor. You need to pray while you take your medication for heart disease or whatever the case may be. But I think it's very important that we have someone to talk to, a trusted friend or a mentor.
Absolutely. That is so good. And it's amazing, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about a lot of the work that Jack Lovelle Coaching and Consulting Group also is inclusive of my husband, Pastor Lovelle Maxwell. And that is truly on his heart. And that's something that I believe that he is called to do. And that is to be a pastor's pastor, to be a mentor of men.
Yeah.
And, he has done some tremendous work with young men, with older men, and continues to pour into men of all ages. When we talk about mentoring and we talk about being an elder, it's from a place of wisdom. And
Yes.
it might not always be about age, but it comes from a place of wisdom. And so, I appreciate you sharing that, sharing that piece. And then the grief piece, we were talking about, suffering in silence, or grieving in silence, or isolating in silence. And what I know to be true is that grieving is any change in a familiar pattern of behavior.
Wow.
And that does not have to be just about a transitioning due to death. But any change, I mean, any change, a child goes off to college, you grieve. You move to a new city, a new house, you think about, gosh, at that old house, we had better lighting, or things were a little different. We grieve that, even though we're moving out of the wilderness, and we're moving into what appears to be better. As you just said, sometimes you just need to tug on and hold on to God and his unchanging hand, but having someone there to help mentor you through that particular situation. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I agree. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
so good, so good. So, as far as transitions in ministry, you know, there are times in which it can feel liberating, and sometimes those experiences in ministry and just in leadership in general can be terrifying. You know, what are some things, some points or some encouragement that you might have for those who are saying, okay, I need to think about this differently. I need to have a different perspective.
Well, I think, well, I believe when it comes to leadership, first, whatever level we're leading on, whether it's pastoral leadership, whether you are a manager, a supervisor, whatever you're leading, wherever you're a coach, I think the first thing that needs to happen is that leader must have faith in him or herself. That you first have to believe in what you're trying to get the rest of the team to lead to believe in. And during that process, leadership is, I think there's still that debate. That's probably more in your expertise, whether leaders are born or whether leaders are made. Um, I think the two go hand in hand. I think if you are a born leader, we can always sharpen our skills to
Absolutely.
be an even better leader. But also when it comes to leadership, it's it's a strain to have pretty much everything seems like it falls on your shoulders when you're leading a team of people in any direction. That whether it goes bad or whether it goes good, there's always somebody to turn and look at. I was watching a documentary on Netflix, and it was talking about the SEC, which is I think is undeniable, the toughest football conference in college football. And one of the coaches in the SEC, he said, when I first got into coaching, I told my wife, it's not if I'm going to get fired, it's when I'm going to get fired. Because now coaches are fired for winning. You know, you win 10 out of 12 games, but you didn't win 11 out of 12 games. So I think even in all levels of leadership, um, that if you don't have someone to talk to, you can suffer, as you said, suffer in silence. In my book, Silent Struggles, I talk about the unhealthy bivocational pastor and how because we appear to be Superman, and that goes all the way back to slavery, that the mindset of the pastor in slavery has followed us all the way until 2025, where sometimes we believe we can do everything. Sometimes the people we serve believe we can do everything. They don't think we get tired. They don't think we have feelings. They don't think we have emotions. That we are to them, whether they admit it or not, to them we appear to be God. That we're this godly figure, but we're finite creatures. We have feelings. We have emotions, and I think if the leader doesn't understand all of those things, I think the enemy can do a great job at getting the leader in any level, getting him or her off track of what they've been called to do, because you're trying to please people versus taking care of yourself.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. It's almost like, the preparation to get through with the
Yeah,
support of the mentor, and then
yeah.
realigning, resetting. Yeah.
Reset. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a pause, and that and when we come back, if you would provide us with some closing nuggets, because we always like to empower and encourage people, as well as we want to hear if there are any upcoming things that we need to be aware of. So I'm going to give you a break, place you in the virtual green room, and we'll be
Okay.
right back in a second.
Thank
All right. So this is a poignant conversation. Yes, without a doubt, we recognize that whether your leadership is that in a spiritual sense or not, there are times in which mentoring is important and mentoring is needed, and so that's what we're talking about today. But I just want to say that several of you have asked me, okay, so what is on the horizon for Jacqui Lovelle Coaching and Consulting. And many of you are very aware that we have opportunities to stay connected. Just wanted to share one of those opportunities with you. You can do that by being a part of my email list. And you'll receive some valuable tips, some great things that are going on. You'll find out about them firsthand. One of them is we have some upcoming forums. One is having to deal with grief and loss and the holidays. It's not too soon to talk about that, because as you're preparing and thinking about if you're ready to move into that holiday season, we know that tugs on our heart in a lot of different ways. And so that's something that you will be hearing more about. And then I'm also interested, put in the chat if that's something that you want to hear more about. And, definitely let me know about that. Then I also am aware that some of you have asked me about what's going on. You've heard me talk about gut health. Now, I've already told you now, this is an inside job, but microbiome, what I have become more aware than ever before, that disease begins in the gut. And I'm even talking about some of the things that we might go through just from a space of not feeling energized, or a space of not being in the space we need to be to have the clarity of mind. Yeah, all of that begins in the gut. What I encourage you to do is to reach out to me. I can give you more information. I have forums, workshops, tasting opportunities, but also opportunities online for you to learn more about gut microbiome activation. And we have those of you that are in Virginia, maybe in the Ruther Glen area, make your plans to head towards Ruther Glen outside of Richmond. And we have a special guest, Mr. Kessie Anika. He will bring a story, a personal story, but also talk to you about gut microbiome activation. So just wanted to share a few things that are upcoming. And then if those of you are still wanting to know how to get in touch with me, those are some of the links, ways in which to reach me. Okay. All right. So we're going to get back to business with Dr. Austin as we close out and talk about the wilderness. Now, I'm going to ask you to put something in the chat. If something has been said, or even if you have a question, I recognize that some of you might be joining the replay, and you put hashtag replay. If you're joining us on the replay, that's fine. We're happy to have you. But if you are a part of this live right now, put in the comment section that this is making a difference and this makes sense to you. Okay, because we have some more opportunities upcoming to share with you. So when I think, Dr. Austin, about some of the takeaways, I'm interested in hearing from you. If you would share with the audience, because one of our goals and missions is to empower, enlighten, and uplift. And so, I would like for you to end us with, share that with us, as well as to share what's on the horizon, what's upcoming for you.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Jacqui. I want to close something that's dear to my heart that I'm trying to push from the pulpit, one-on-one, individually, and that is not just for leaders, but for everyone. Learn that rest is holy, that you can't go 100 miles per hour every day. And I know sometimes it appears that the more you do, the more you believe people will appreciate you. But I oftentimes say that if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be available to take care of anybody else. You won't be able to do ministry effective if you're always burning a candle on both ends. So I would encourage everyone listening, whether you're live or going back on the replay, to take care of yourself, to rest, get the proper rest that your body needs, and even through prayer and meditation. But Jesus even took time away. It was throughout the New Testament. The Bible is clear on several occasions that he left the crowd, he left the disciples, and he went off by himself because he understood that in order for him to keep pouring into the disciples, he had to have quiet time with just him and God, with nothing else, no other noise on the outside. So I would encourage you to rest, take care of yourself, embrace rest, whatever that means for you, to embrace it. And don't let anyone tell you that you've rested too much or you don't need rest, because no one knows your body the way you know your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul. So that's what I would encourage everyone listening. And what I have on the horizon now, it's already put together. I know Dr. Jacqui, thank you for mentioning leadership consultant. This is something that I've been working on for the past year and a half, 2 years, on getting all the pieces together. And I'm proud to say that the book is available, Practical Leadership, How to Lead the Moment When It Matters Most. And that Practical Leadership book is personal experiences from me being in leadership in law enforcement, corporate, and from the religious sector as a pastor. And I've taken real life stories, combined them in a book. And in the book, I'm honest. I tell you what worked, what didn't work, the mistakes I made, what I did well, in order to pour into someone else that they can learn from the mistakes I made and the good decisions I made, how to be a better leader. So along with that book, we have, I'm ready to hit the road with some leadership consultants, addressing groups of people. I have a couple of them lined up right now. I'm just finishing up the final pieces on the dates and that sort of thing. So I'm ready to go out with this practical leadership piece. It's about 2.5, 3 hours teaching. And also I'm making it available online. So if you're not able to come out, if it's a group of people, 10 or 15, or if it's just you, you're able to walk through that same leadership practical piece that I can teach in person and also online. So that's what's in the horizon for me, my wife. We work as a team, and Sunshine Marketing. We're also, the publishing company is taking off. We are publish all genres of books. I think right now we have several that we're working on now. But you can give us a call, 434-515-2576, and everything I mentioned is available. And we'll love to serve you in the capacity that we can serve you in.
Excellent. And did you say Sunshine Marketing?
Sunshine Marketing Solutions. Yes, ma'am.
Solutions. Okay. And is that the website?
That is where we have a sales page. I think my wife may have sent it to you. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
well,
we can definitely get that out. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we put that in our comments section. Yes, absolutely. That is good.
Yes, ma'am.
And so this has been tremendous. And I know
it has.
I have some takeaways, and if you have some takeaways, those of you that are part of this call, please put your takeaways in the comment section. The takeaways. Now, my takeaway, you're a teacher, and I was your student today. So one of my takeaways is the wilderness is not abandonment; it's alignment. Yeah, that was one of my takeaways.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Another one of my takeaways is rest is a necessity. It's sacred. It's all about the Sabbath.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Another one of my takeaways, Dr. Austin, is transitioning and moving through the wilderness is not, you're not being punished, but you're being prepared. And in that preparation, you need a coach and you need a mentor. Those are my takeaways.
That's right.
Do I get an A?
Amen.
Oh, I get
an A plus.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, that's so good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, sir.
Awesome.
This has been a tremendous time. I know that our paths will continue to cross because there's so many connections.
Yeah.
God, this transformational and providential. It's not by accident. It's not by happenstance. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I am honored to know you and so glad that you have been a part of On the Porch with Dr. Jacqui. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
sir.
The feeling is mutual. The wife and I love you, and Dr. Maxwell. We
Absolutely.
consider you guys friends already, and so
Yes.
when you meet good people, you know you meet good people. And the first time we met you was at a funeral, and when we got in the car, wife and I were both saying, "Man, we got to figure out how to get to Richmond. They got to get here. Like it's a relationship we want to keep going." So this is awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. And thank you to each one of you that have joined in on today on the porch. And remember, on the porch, you are the light. So don't forget, always leave that light on because somebody is depending on you. You be blessed
Amen.
until I see you the next time.
Amen. God bless.